everyone, and thanks so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. I am Dr. Karen McDowell, and I am here today to talk to you about saying sorry, or even saying sorry for saying sorry too much. I am a licensed psychologist here in the state of Texas, and I work as a therapist, as a speaker, educator, coach. I do all kinds of stuff. Mostly I'm fascinated with and super interested in the human mind and how we construct our worlds around us and how we can make changes to improve our lives that make our worlds more fun, more joyful, more meaningful. So today I'm talking about apologizing, which is such an important part of relationships, right? Like saying sorry is really important. Unfortunately, the word sorry has taken on so many different meanings at this point in the English language that using the word sorry doesn't always convey the thing you're trying to convey or elicit the thing that you're trying to elicit from somebody. Today I'm going to talk about all the things that sorry might mean, and I'm going to encourage you to start examining your own use of the word sorry and maybe trying to replace it with some more accurate language. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that the word sorry can mean. Very often the word sorry is actually a request for reassurance. So sometimes when we're talking with someone and we're worried that maybe we've upset them, or we're worried that maybe they're thinking something or that something's happening, we'll say, I'm sorry, or sorry, sorry I said that, or sorry, whatever. And they may say, oh, it's okay, or whatever. But what you really might be asking is everything okay? Do I need to do anything? Asking for reassurance. Well, if you are asking for reassurance and the other person is like, well, it's okay, that's probably not going to feel very reassuring. So you're probably going to have a lot better luck if you say something like, can I check in with you and make sure everything's okay? I'm concerned that maybe I've upset you. Something that's a little bit more specific to what you're trying to get, and then they can say, oh no, everything's fine, or yes, I did upset, I was upset, and then you can make whatever kinds of amends that you want to make. So sometimes sorry can actually be a request for reassurance, and if that's what your sorry means in any given sentence, then maybe replace that with an actual request for reassurance or an actual clarification. So sometimes the word sorry can be used to express appreciation, which sounds really weird, right? Like when you hear that, sorry to express appreciation. But really, sometimes that's what it is. So let's imagine that you have a meeting and you're a couple of minutes late. And you say sorry. Sure, you may be trying to take ownership or regret around being late, but probably what you're really saying is thank you so much for waiting, or thank you for your patience, or thank you for your flexibility. And you can pair these things, so you could say sorry and thank you for your patience, but I want to challenge you to be more precise in your use of the word sorry. And so if you are apologizing for something that maybe doesn't really need an apology, but you do want to acknowledge that maybe somebody had to go a little extra or whatever, then change that language and instead say, thank you so much for waiting, or thank you so much for taking care of that before I had a chance to. And you'll find that meaning gets across a lot clearer. A really, really common use of sorry is to express anxiety. Now, if you are one of the kinds of people who says sorry a lot, or you have somebody in your life that says sorry a lot, it can be very interfering, in conversation. Be having conversation on maybe something benign, and I say, oh no, that's not actually what I meant. Oh, sorry. And what's really happening there is that there's no apology needed. We're just having a back and forth, or we're just doing whatever. But there's so much anxiety in the person that they're so worried that maybe they said the wrong thing, or that I'm upset, and there's all this anxiety. And so saying sorry is an expression of anxiety. It usually isn't intended to elicit reassurance, although I think sometimes it is, but rather it's really kind of just more of a verbal tick almost. Like, I'm having all this anxiety, I'm just going to keep saying sorry because it's the only way that I know how to express my anxiety. So if that's true of you, then that's totally okay. That makes perfect sense. But let's kind of pull back on that and find other ways, more adaptive ways of expressing your anxiety so that it's not interfering with your conversations or your relationships. Sometimes we use the word sorry to express politeness or manners. If you're walking down the street and you step out of someone's way and you say sorry, or if you pass somebody in the grocery store and you got to kind of scooch and you say sorry, you're expressing politeness, right? Manners. And so, if you're working on reducing how much you say sorry, then I would say replace that word sorry with an excuse me, or a pardon me, or a thank you, expressing that kind of gratitude or appreciation, rather than using the word sorry. If you're in the habit of using the word sorry a lot, you may not even know how often you do it. So try to catch yourself and replace it with what you really mean. If you're expressing politeness, just say thank you, excuse me, pardon me, something like that. Sometimes we use the word sorry to reduce tension, or to try to end conflict, or just to kind of shut it down, right? So we'll just say sorry, didn't mean to upset you. And that doesn't really count as an apology if an apology was warranted. And it is kind of an expression of anxiety. But more than anything, I think what that functions as is an attempt to kind of end a conversation or to kind of stop so that some kind of processing or some kind of, thinking can happen. And if that's the case, if you're in a conflict, if you're in a hard conversation or there's tension and you're just like, well, sorry that happened. You might be better off saying, I'd really like to think about this before we keep talking about it. Can I call you back in an hour? Or can we talk about this tomorrow? Or I need more time. Ask for what you need. Get what you need out of it. And if that is to end the conversation, you get to do that. You're an autonomous human. You don't have to be forced into any conversation you don't want to be in. But just saying sorry to get somebody to stop or to get the tension to end isn't going to actually resolve the tension. It's just going to be weird. So again, kind of changing your language to make your relationships go more smoothly. Sorry is also used to adopt blame. And sometimes that's an expression of anxiety and a kind of a pull for reassurance. But sometimes it's an expression of codependence, or it's an expression of a really kind of toxic relationship style. And so the word sorry would be if somebody spills the milk and you say, I'm so sorry, I must not have put the lid on right. Like taking blame for something or saying sorry. And sometimes I think that we think that it means I'm like, oh, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened to you. But what's really happening is we're like taking ownership of something that doesn't belong to us. Now that's different from a real sorry, a real apology for something that we did, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute. But when we're talking about toxic relationship patterns, sometimes the use of the word sorry is an attempt to take blame or to take responsibility, either to take it off someone else, or to it's kind of like a martyry, or kind of like a to get attention for that, or to get people to notice that. If there is something like that happens, honestly, I'm not sure there's much of a replacing language as there is of just like, don't say it. Just don't say it. If somebody does something and it's not on you, don't apologize. You can express sympathy. You could be like, damn, that sucks. But that's not the same thing as saying sorry and taking ownership of something. Yet another meaning of the word sorry is to express sympathy, right? If something bad happens in somebody's life, they're having such a hard time, and you say, oh, I'm so sorry, that's a legitimate sentiment, right? Like, that's super valid. You want to express compassion. You want to express empathy. You want them to know that you see them and they're suffering. But I'm not sure that the word sorry actually expresses that. And so I would encourage you to change your language to things like, I know that you're really struggling. I wish that I could do more to help you. I'm sorry that you're having to go through this is very different than just being like, I'm so sorry. So if you're gonna use the word sorry, expand it into a little bit more meaning, but consider just not even using it all, but just making statements that, I know this is so hard for you. I see that you're really suffering. Those are so much more meaningful than, I'm sorry this is happening to you. Like, what does that mean? Sometimes sorry is used to reduce people's defenses. If you've ever been on a customer service call on either end of the phone and you have either said or been told, we're sorry that we screwed you over in whatever way, they probably are not sorry. That random person that's on the phone probably doesn't give a shit because it's not them and they didn't do it and whatever. But the company is saying, I'm sorry, right? Because they want you to lower your defenses. They want you to not be so mad. They want you to not leave. So they're going to say the thing they need so that you will lower your defenses. Now, that's not only true of customer service, that happens in interpersonal relationships too. And we kind of touched on a little bit with the, like trying to reduce tension, but just reducing someone's defenses by apologizing or taking ownership of something when they don't actually mean to take ownership, or they don't actually believe that they have ownership of anything. So let's talk about the final one, which is sorry, meaning I'm sorry, meaning I'm regretful, meaning I wish that I hadn't done that, or wish that hadn't happened that way. And that's a very valid and a very necessary part of relationships. But I've gone through, let me look at my list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different meanings of the word sorry, and probably you could come up with another 10 different meanings of the word sorry. So when it comes time to give a real apology, when it's time to actually say, I regret what I have done, I regret that I have caused harm or made a mistake or whatever, your word sorry becomes so diluted. It becomes kind of meaningless. If it has 1,000 meanings, the person on the receiving end doesn't actually know what it genuinely means. So again, in all of this, my hope for you is that you just examine the way that you use the word sorry and change language wherever you think that's appropriate. As always, you can find me at drkarenmcdowell.com. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram. I'm doing a new thing right now, Wednesdays at noon Central, live on Instagram called Small Bites. Dr. Karen McDowell, you can chat with me live about topics. You can subscribe and like, comment here on YouTube. I love it. Send me messages through my website, follow me on Facebook, all of the things, and I will see you in the next video.